Hey everyone, this is Nic LaRue over from FilmSnobbery at the South Georgia Film Festival here in Valdosta at VSU. VSU? Yeah, I'm in the right place. It's been a long weekend, and I don't even know where I am half the time. And I am here with my breakfast buddies. I'm my breakfast buddies. We're going to have them introduce themselves. They're here with the wonderful movie Guacamole Yesterdays, which it's an interesting title for an interesting movie. Good movie, though. I enjoyed it. I do enjoy it very much, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves right now. Here we go.
I'm Michelle Moreland, and I'm the producer of Guacamole Yesterdays.
Yay. And I'm Trisha Solyn, the cinematographer.
I love the fact that the cinematographer is here. It's actually really refreshing because I'm so used to speaking with directors and actors, but rarely do we actually hear from the producers and the cinematographers. So I'm really happy to finally talk to someone who is not going to just talk about auteur theory. So this is great. So the first question I'm going to have here is about producing. There are many types of producers. Which kind of producer are you?
That's a great question. I am a boots on the ground producer. So that puts me in a category of I get the shit done. If they need a baby, I find the baby. They need a car, I find the car. I make sure things runs, that the cast and crew are happy, fed, feeling good, and paid. I have a lot of input with this team, and I love them, but that's probably where my strengths are, is just really getting things done and making it look like it was easy when I was back in the car crying about it. So, so I'm a boots on the ground. I'm really one who wants to make it happen.
And a miracle worker. She literally found us a pig for our last movie in like under 4 hours when we needed one. So, yeah.
A pig, yes. Yeah. It was, yeah. So that's the kind of thing I like to get done.
Everyone needs a pig wrangler. My wife calls me. There, I love it. So as far as the look of this, how much conversation goes into do you have with either the director or even the actors to some degree on what the look of from scene to scene or the entirety of the film is going to be? Is that worked out well in advance, or do you sometimes get into a location and say, you know what, this might be better this way? How does that work?
Well, Jordan and I specifically work together very well in this manner. We start pretty early and discuss. He has very strong opinions about a lot of stuff, and then he'll explain them to me, like what he's trying to get across, and then I will have to take that idea and make it something that's physically and budgetarily possible and attainable. And then I'm also very good at remembering kind of the intent behind what he wants, and then translating that even on set. Sometimes when you see an opportunity, like we should like, we had color theory in this movie where Ames is the lead character, female. She had a red color, and then oh gosh, what's his name? Randy. I'm so bad with names. Sorry, guys. So, and Randy was blue, and then our therapist was yellow, and then when Randy and Ames had good positive qualities together, they purple. So purple was their sign of happiness and love. And there'd be times where we have kind of a lighter color in the background. I'd be like, oh, this should be a purple thing, or we should actually make this red. And Jordan would be like, yeah, oh yeah, that's true. And there'd be times where he already knew what the color should be. And it took me a while to kind of get onto that sometimes, and other times like we were just in sync together. And like I said, other times I picked up the slack. But I work very differently depending on how each director I've worked with over the years are. With Jordan, we've worked together now on 5 shorts, and this is our second feature. And we kind of complete each other in many ways, where like his weaknesses are my strengths and my strengths are his weaknesses. Or did I say the same thing twice? Okay. But yeah, so like we complement each other. And any time that we're having kind of an issue, we can just kind of talk it through and figure it out. And we usually will do that long in advance. But then I heard, Roger Deakins, I think, said it forever ago. It's like you have a plan and you have it storyboarded out, incredibly well. And then on the day, you just kind of throw it out and go with what you have. And so I've always kind of taken that because that's something I heard very early on. So, yeah, if you see something better, or you ran out of time and you got to reblock a scene, or you have to combine 2 scenes or cut a scene, which we were running behind on our second day, and they basically had to cut like I think 20 pages from the script in order to kind of make it flow better, because we had a snow day that came up, we had some COVID issues, and then we were running a little bit behind anyways. And because the movie that that they originally wanted to shoot, I told them, months before, like it was more ambitious than we had time and money for. And then when we got into it on day 1 or 2, I think they both realized that, no, yeah, she was right. And we had to kind of rethink and redo, but we never lost those initial conversations about camera movement, about color theory, about the character, about when we would use reflections and when we wouldn't, and that kind of stuff. So it's important that even when you're adaptive, that you keep the heart and the essence of the important things. So.
Now, and forgive me for not knowing this information because I wasn't there. I don't know how expansive the amount of crew was on this because it's an independent film. Most independent films don't have a script supervisor. Yeah. They don't have scripty, which also means they don't have someone handling continuity. Now, on something like this where you're also dealing with subtle things like color theory that is ostensibly in camera, was it up to you to pretty much keep track of how that went from scene to scene, or was that on your job as a producer to kind of also keep track of things like that to make sure that these things were not which I guess some of it too you can actually fix in color correction later on, but still, not have to worry as much about from scene to scene to make sure if you had to do like an insert shot or something like that later, like, just remember that it's going to do. Yeah, I know. There's so many permutations of how I could phrase this question to just be like,
We probably both have 2 spots on this. I'm going to take a little bit of what she said earlier. We knew from the beginning we'd have to have a script supervisor. We knew that was going to be part of our cast and crew. There was no doubt to cut that position. We would have cut some other position to make sure we had that because of the intensity of what was going to be happening with the scenes and the color and the way it jumps around. And to that line, and I'm probably still in her line, is that we went through 4 script supervisors because the first 3 couldn't quite understand it, and they had a hard time, and they just, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, I mean, we intentionally broke continuity because she's changing memories throughout the film, and so we had one of them left because of scheduling. They had better jobs and better money, so they were only ever going to be there for a while. But we did have one script soup. Hopefully, she never listens to this. That she just it drove her crazy that like we would switch towel from one shot to the next shot, even in the scene, or that we would take her wedding ring off and put it on, even though it was the scene before and the scene after. And it was like, so Jordan early on, Jordan and Hudson had been sitting on this script, like had been developing it, written and, in their brains, storyboarding it and creating this movie, that they wanted in there. It's for like 5 years, I think it was. So Jordan actually did storyboard almost everything, and he was very specific and new, and a lot of that was even scripted sometimes of what was what period, what continuity went where, what colors were that, and then like we went through the script together and I took notes on the storyboards, like this scene is red, this scene is purple, this scene has a ring, this one doesn't, and so we never would have gone without a script soup, but we did give the script soup a supervisor because they hate scripty, by the way. They don't really like to be called scripty anymore, and even script soup because they are script supervisors and they don't want to be girlified, which I'm going to stand behind, so let's call them script supervisors. They're so important. Yeah, exactly. They're so important because they're your second set of eyes. Like we had the one that we had for the most of it, she took stills of the frames, and when we had to do eyeline for reverses, because that was still something we did, she had us covered, even if we did it a day later or whatnot. We had some footage go missing, had to do a little bit of reshooting. The stills and the information that she had written down about the stuff that we lost allowed us to know exactly what we were missing and what we needed to reshoot without having to go back through and edit something. And so we could do it during our 15 days of production and not after. Script supervisors are invaluable and should not. Yeah, I mean, I think that and an AD and a really good AC are the 3 things that like you cannot do. Like you could even do without a good DP if you have a good director and a good gaffer, but you cannot do without those other 3.
And to the point of having a script supervisor or a script supervisor having difficulty understanding continuity, things like that, and a changing thing. I was just listening to and watching, because it's a video podcast, as well as watching the Broken Lizard guys who do Tacoma FD. They have the podcast Tacoma FD, and they were talking about this one particular issue they were having in the season with their script supervisors and the people who just in general on set, everyone who pointing out continuity because they were shooting throughout the season flashback stuff for a future flashback episode. But they're like, if we could shoot it now, we don't have to fake it later. But it drove those people who didn't understand what the season arc was. It drove those script supervisors crazy because they're like, why are we doing this? In this scene here, they're doing this. Now this guy's hair has changed over here. It's like, but that's for later. And they didn't want to get it. So it's not a completely unique problem. That actually is a thing. And when you were explaining that, I got so like, I was like, oh yeah, that's a Hollywood problem. So there you go. Like, small budgets, big problems, but right up there with the Hollywood thing. No, so one other aspect I wanted to talk about that we were talking to our breakfast buddy little round table this morning was it was either this morning or yesterday. You brought up the idea of how the sets were done. It was actually done very closed. One kind of, I believe you would never really know. It actually, to your point, looked very much more expansive a film than what it actually was, and I was hoping that both of you could explain kind of what it is you folks did to achieve that set design.
So we did have a production designer, Brohammer, who worked really, really hard to make sure that we had what we needed. We had tried to find locations that we could rent that would fulfill all our needs, because we basically knew that we had to shoot everything kind of in one place, that we didn't have enough time and budget to shoot this kind of grand idea picture and have location moves on top of that. I know when some of Jordan's original ideas, like he really wanted to build a set, and we wanted the ability to like actually move flat walls like during a shot so that the room got bigger as you were watching it. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. We can't afford that. Like, we don't have space for that. So we looked at a bunch of like Airbnbs and things and had some options, but they were all way too expensive for our budget. So it ended up working out really well that Hudson, the producer, had bought a house that closed December like 31st or something like that. And then his lease was up end of January. And so I basically told him, like, listen, like, this house has the space we need. And they were like, it doesn't really look like what we wanted. This room's too big. This room is like awkward. And it's not the right color. And so I was like, well, listen, we worked with Brohammer and actually like built flats to shrink the living room into a smaller room so that the living room they're in is actually half of the existing living room. And then we built a wall flat to separate the dining room from the kitchen. So even though it was like a galley long style, like dining room kitchen, that wall, when you look at Ames and she's on the couch, if you remove that wall, you'd look right into the kitchen and to the other side. And then they designed and adjusted the art around like the kitchen cabinets to make them look more like bookcases and dress them to be like that. We were able to paint the flats the yellow color that Jordan really wanted. In the living room, like we had that brick fireplace that worked really good as like the stand-up kind of brick as well. And then we adjusted, some of the lighting and that kind of stuff. But it was really working one-on-one with the idea of like that I had enough experience to know that we could alter and change the space that we had, and then Brohammer's actual like ability to physically get it done in as quickly as possible, because we also, I think we had 15 days or whatever to shoot it, and then the next day they had to clear the house, and then we had to be out of the house because his rental was up. So it's like we were breaking down sets, the day after we were done shooting them. We had to like keep moving gear from one room to another, depending on which one we were going to see. We used every inch of every room in that house. And then we used a little bit of the backyard. There was like a guest studio. So when they pull up in the first date, we used their the back guest house as that. And we used one bathroom out of there because the bathroom that was in the main house was the size of a toilet, and we literally couldn't even fit a camera in there, let alone, the people. So the neighbor let us use the guest house back there for those two scenes. And then we just had that one scene at Roswell Mill. So otherwise everything is on that one property. 90% is within that one house, even the doctor's office. And then just that one scene at Roswell Mill.
Yeah. Logistically though, having it all in one house is financially great on a movie. Logistically though, on cast and crew, it's tough. Yeah. Let's be real. I mean, when they're shooting certain things, everybody has to get out of the house. And we're shot in the January, so everybody's freezing outside. I had a heater for them. But I'm just saying, there's good and bad. We had a great, art designer set designer who was able to do these maneuvers and put walls up. But the flip side is logistically it was hard. It's like you're telling cast and crew, everybody outside except for those 3 people, and that's all that's in the house. And so, but we did use every inch of that house for something, and it was a small house, so it wasn't.
one more thing, because we had, SAG actors. Michelle had to work out space, for SAG roles. You need a private space for each of the 2 actors. So it's like we had to have spaces for them, but they were also set rooms. So we had to coordinate having days where we wouldn't shoot in one of the bedroom scenes because that's where, we were housing one of the actors. And then the next day we'd have to move them to another room so we could shoot in that room that they were in. You always had issues with sound and where to put gear because you only had one room to put gear in, and then you would be shooting in that room the next day. So you had to have it moved in there. So yes, shooting in, it was difficult even though it saved money. And Michelle and Vanessa, our AD, were phenomenal at coordinating to make sure that we always had that, and that the actors especially, which I think you should talk more of.
Right, I was going to say, and giving them TLC because as a SAG actor, they think they know that they have certain rules and we want to follow those rules, but giving them the extra TLC that we're having to move them 10 times, and
in very heavy subject matter of our film in places too.
Correct, because of the subject matter, it wasn't like it was. They needed that time to prep and emotionally to do the scene. And then if the next day I had to move them to another spot, it was like I really wanted to get them the extra TLC that, and make them feel comfortable with that because that was really important to make them feel comfortable.
Oh, one more thing, sorry. And one more thing. So we always made sure that we blocked every scene and gave them, so before, even though we had everything storyboarded and they had kind of worked with the actors a little bit, like the whole crew would sit down either in the house or outside, completely silent, while the actors ran the scenes in the space, and then they might reblock it a little bit, and then we would change shots or whatnot if needed. But like we always did give them that quiet downtime, as difficult as it was sometimes. So like you had to stop work and you couldn't do any work in the house anywhere to catch up or get ahead while you're rolling or while you're rehearsing, as opposed to like, if your set's a different place, you could be working, dressing a set somewhere else, or building a set, or, rigging something. But exactly. But you don't have that luxury. So,
So the one thing I'm really digging about this is that we have actually interviewed before, we've met before, which is fantastic. We were at the Oxford Film Festival back in, I want to say it was 2019 or something of that nature. Was it earlier than that? Yeah. See, I'm horrible with time, but we had met at a film festival before, and so the time aspect of it is the part of this that's important. Between then and between now, how do each of you feel that you've grown in your respective craft?
It's a great question. I've done other projects, and the one thing I would say I've grown in is that I am picky about who I work with. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean that it's about being able to work just with people that are genuine and caring, and it is a respect of time and just a passion of what we're doing. Indies are hard, and then all of a sudden you walk on a $1 million set and things are throwing around the room and people are yelling at you for no reason. No one has time for that in life. And so I think growing and doing different projects, it comes back to me that I really love who I work with and respect them. Far as my other part of the craft, I'm always pretty natural at finding something for free. So I don't know if I got any better at that. I can pretty much get you something on set for whatever you want. So I think that I learned from them. These guys have all been in the industry. I'm the virgin in this group. I mean, I'm the one who hasn't been in this industry all my life. And everybody else, all these guys, the writer, producer, director, they've been doing this all their life. I learned from them, to be honest, to sit back and think. I ask them questions I don't understand sometimes when she starts talking about lenses, or I'm like, let me hear a little bit more, so I think I learn a lot from them, but I think that's it for me.
I was like, I haven't grown at all. No, just kidding. No, I mean, you grow with every project, and this one was one that when I read the script, I knew instantly I wanted to be involved with. I've hit a little bit because I work as a union AC, so I'm on sets a lot of hours, and then with COVID especially, you had that little lockdown period, and then it was just nonstop work. Yeah, nonstop work, and so by the time it came around for this, I was a little burnt out. And then I actually caught COVID during our pre-production weeks in December. So I was like heavily sick with mind fog and all the other stuff. And I learned that even if I slack off a little bit, the other people like Michelle and Jordan and Hudson, they picked up the slack. They were super forgiving of me not being able to give my 100% until we were on set on the day. And Vanessa, like I said, our new AD, who will never do anything without. She's also a phenomenal actress, and so please cast her as actor too. But like I really learned to rely on them as much, as opposed to a lot of times I was always kind of the driving force that, you know, that kept things going, that knew the big picture, that felt like I had to be the one steering the ship to make sure that Jordan got what he wanted. I really felt this was one of the best team efforts. And then in 2020, I also, of course, suffered losses. So the subject matter, I learned a lot, because when I first went into it, I had dealt with losses, but not in the same way that I had in 2020. And so, you know, dealing with the subject matter was much more intense and sentimental and personal. So that when we came to filming it, I think I'm a different person. If we had filmed it in 2019, you know, originally when we were supposed to film it, because I think This World Alone was 2018 was when we did, and then we got the film grant for the next year, and you know, yeah, I think that would be my biggest thing. Those two things. So.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, yeah, I think that once you go through an experience that's somewhat relatable to the material you're doing, you tend to sometimes I think you step up your game a little bit, even mentally or emotionally, and it reflects itself on the material that you're shooting or you're working on in general. So I think that's fantastic. So obviously we're here at a film festival. You know, this is, I would love to say this is my office and our studio and all that. This is not the case. No, I'm in school, and or I'm in a school, not my school, but they would not accept me here. Not even adjunct. No. But it's great you've been able to watch this with an audience. Do you think that from the reactions you've seen, both have seen so far, are the audiences reacting the way you anticipated them?
Great question. The audience is
And he's modest too.
no, yeah, very modest. No confidence. What? I think, yes, for the most part. I feel like they've been engaging. I think the storyline has, intrigues different emotions. And I think people who stay and ask questions have really kind of touched them somehow. And so you can hear that in their questions. I think we've filmed, we've showed a couple of times now. Mm-hmm. Each group has been a little bit different too, as far as their reactions to it. But I think it's been very positive, and even talking to a few people afterwards, listening to things has been really, really positive.
Yeah. I think Michelle pointed out, like, this at Valdosta, this Southern Georgia Film Festival, has been one of the most diverse crowds that has actually viewed it, and it was really nice to see that they related just as well, if not better, to the subject matter as any of the other screenings we've done. I'm always very worried when you screen a film, because, like, you're always hardest on it, but then you love it, and you're like, are people going to laugh what we think they are? And are they going to cry? Are they going to be bored? Like, and I'm always worried about people getting bored, because indies always seem to run long in places, and, like, even our own films have fallen prey to that. I think that this is one of the first films where, like, when you watch it, I never feel like I want to fast forward it, even though I've seen it like 27 times. And then the thing that always shocks me, even from the very first screening that we did in Rome, Georgia, to this one today, is people just laugh. Like, it's so much more of a comedy than I even realized, because we knew it was kind of funny and there's jokes written in it, but, like, it almost reads like it's a comedy to people and it's still this, like, relationship of joy, and you understand why they're together, and then you understand as it kind of turns to the more depression, and it gets a little darker, and it still has that uplifting ending. And so I just think I love seeing that people actually are fully reacting to it, even more so than I ever thought that they would. And, and everyone picks out different things, and especially in Rome, Georgia, but even today's screening, like, people they really get the color theory, the reflections, like, all the camera movement, like, the changing of the memories, all these things that, like, we tried to be kind of subtle about in places, or we were a little more heavy-handed in other places. Like, it wasn't for waste. Like, they all get it, and It makes me happy.
I was just going to say, it's like the fans know more than me, and I'm like, wait, what? What question? Okay, let me think. All right. Yeah. But it's great that they have that much knowledge as they're watching something.
Yeah, and then everyone always says, like, oh, I got to go back and rewatch it, which is, like, the greatest thing to hear, that people want to watch your movie again. It wasn't just, like, good enough that they liked it. Like, they want to watch it again and experience more of what they've realized now. So.
Right, because there's Easter eggs. So,
There's avocado pits.
Exactly.
There you go. There's avocado pits. Do you no? And I think that's that's a great aspect of independent film is you know, you're free to do some of those more Easter eggy kind of things in there, and you're free to experiment a little bit more and get your audience involved, even at the film level, never mind like later marketing level kind of stuff and all that kind of stuff. Do you where is the film going from here? Do you guys know yet?
We're working the film festival circuit, and in talks and looking at, you know, how to distribute. You know, obviously that's really important, and in fact that was even a couple of questions in the Q&A today, was like, because they want to watch it again, and someone was like, I want to share this with my friend. What a great feeling, something to hear. But we're working on it. So, you know, it's like any indie film, you know, getting the right connection and making sure it's the right connection to be distributed. You know, there's so many people out there that can scam you on distribution. I think that you have to be very cautious at who you work with and make sure it's the right group that's going to do the right thing for you. So, but we are hitting the film festivals, and
I was going to pull up so if you're interested, of course, you can always follow Brothers Ray, which is the production company. I believe it's just brothersray.com as their website. But they're also, you can sign up for the mailing list and learn about what festivals it's going to play in, and then when it gets distribution, like where to see it, where to buy it, whatever. So, yeah.
Are there any other productions that you folks are working on next after this that are either may or may not be part of what the brothers are doing, or you know, any other things that you guys want to talk about, or you folks want to talk about in terms of like how to let people find you or hire you to do other things? Pig wrangle, you know, you can pig wrangle. Yeah, fantastic. You know, and look, I know there's a completely different skill set and job market for I can get you things. Absolutely. So I didn't realize those people were called producers.
Yeah, boots on the ground and sweet talk you into anything. And I can save you on that budget. I mean, that's part of the game, right? You know, it's for an indie film, right? You know, our group has a couple of scripts we're right now hashing out. So we've got 2 scripts we're hashing out. So we really don't have anything set that we can really talk about. But we're in that creative mode of working through some scripts. And yeah, so Jordan and Hudson have a couple out. Scripts they've worked on, they've shared it with us, and we're now talking through those and working with feedback on that. As far as any other projects, I don't have any other projects in the producing world, just the real life. But, you know, that's about it for me.
Oh yes. As a side note, it's sorry they changed the name. It's Mirror Box Film. So mirror like a mirror, box and films, all one word. That's how you can search for projects that we've done in this project. I'm just Trisha Solyn, and I have a Vimeo because I've let my website lapse. I still own it, but you can't access it anymore because the cloud died during 2020, and I'm not doing it. But yeah, you can just search for my name. I'm in all the IMDb and credits, and that's how you've reached my Vimeo, and it also has my email address hidden in there. So yeah, it's very easy.
I was just gonna say, I'm Michelle, and I'm the Geeky Diva. So if you're on the website, Instagram, my website, and everything like that, it's called the Geeky Diva.
There you go. Yeah, and I guess when you're working consistently too, you don't have to you don't actually have to worry so much about the whole website thing.
Yeah, get word of mouth. So yeah, I do word of mouth because it's just like marketing. I'm very bad at marketing myself. I do projects based on the people, like Michelle said, or the actual reading of the content, and I find those people find me. So it sounds terrible, but yeah.
I call it pimping out, and I don't pimp myself out anymore.
Yeah, I can't do it.
I don't think I'm allowed to say I will pimp you out. I think that if I say that, there will be people at my door, and not the kind of people any of us want. They're not.
Moment. Don't worry, not a Me Too moment.
Not a Me Too moment. Not this time. My last name's not Weinstein. But thank you very much for coming to sit down and chatting. I know that any time at a festival is just busy time because you're trying to reach your audiences and stuff like that. And frankly, film critics, not precisely your audience.
Oh, you love our film, so you're a great critic, and I'll always trust everything you ever say.
See, the advantage here that maybe people aren't understanding is I'm also a jury member here, so they are really buttering my bread over here. And, you know, ladies, I am a married man. clutch my pearls.
Exactly.
Yes, but thank you so much. You know, I'm glad that you folks are having a good time here, and it was great. I will see you at breakfast tomorrow, which is just another unique thing I get to say between us and my wife. So see you at breakfast tomorrow. See you folks that are listening to this, hopefully sometime at another festival, maybe at the South Georgia Film Festival here in Valdosta in 2025. Who knows? Bye.